American President Donald Trump is already heading to the Persian Gulf countries next week. The three richest countries in the Middle East region are Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. And all three countries are promising simply astronomical investments in the American economy. And Trump is going there not just for nothing, but to sign truly serious agreements that will benefit both America and these three countries of the Persian Gulf. Qatar is even promising to give Donald Trump a presidential plane as a gift. Although according to American law, such expensive gifts cannot be accepted by the American president without approval from Congress. But nevertheless, Qatar says, we are ready to give Trump a huge presidential plane, on which Trump will fly during his second presidential term. Therefore, in this episode, I suggest we dive into this topic together, figure out why and for what reason Trump is flying to the Middle East, and what he will be negotiating about. What are the three Persian Gulf countries offering America, and what can America offer them? Crucially, how might these agreements alter the Middle East's balance of power, and what role does Israel play in this? My name is Alexei Pichi. Today is May 11th. Let's go through this step by step. Before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and don't forget to like. Write comments so that YouTube's algorithms show this video to as many viewers as possible. I encourage you to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechenews. News is posted there faster than on my YouTube channel, and I also share my analysis in text form. The link to the Pechenews Telegram channel is in the description below. I recommend subscribing. So the three Arab countries of the Persian Gulf, rich in energy resources, are trying to turn their influence on Donald Trump into tangible benefits. Trump plans to visit them next week, starting from May 12th. They have built personal connections with the United States president and collectively promised literally trillions of dollars in investments in the United States, while at the same time acting as key intermediaries in conflicts that Trump wants to resolve, from Gaza to Ukraine and the issue of Iran's nuclear program. Now, all these three Persian Gulf countries have been rewarded with the privilege of hosting Trump's first state visit during his second presidential term. The United States president is scheduled to land in Saudi Arabia as early as Tuesday, May 13th, followed by a visit to Qatar, and then to the United Arab Emirates, with all these visits lasting until May 16th. Given Trump's transactional approach to foreign policy, these three countries have something to offer. And in Trump's view, the Persian Gulf countries meet all the necessary criteria to do really big business with them. And all three of them promise to invest trillions in the United States economy and spend colossal amounts on American weapon systems. Behind this carefully thought-out strategy of courting Donald Trump lies the desire of the Persian Gulf countries to strengthen and formalize their positions as indispensable United States partners in the fields of security and economy, and also to extract as much benefit for themselves as possible. Relations between the United States and the Persian Gulf countries have significantly deteriorated since Trump returned to the White House. Disappointed by the perceived lack of United States interest in their needs under the administration of Joe Biden, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have reportedly sought to diversify their military, technological, and economic ties. The pivot toward China started with Trump's ascent to power. They see what one official from the Persian Gulf called an opportunity that comes up in life to achieve the goals of their country. From their point of view, now is the perfect time to strengthen ties with Washington and even secure greater privileges in relations with the most powerful country in the world. Each of the three countries that Donald Trump is visiting has its own list of priorities. And now, together with you, I want to figure out what each country wants from the United States of America and how they plan to achieve it. We begin, of course, with Saudi Arabia. This is the key question. Saudi Arabia wants one thing: security, and once again security. And the countries of the Persian Gulf are looking for confirmation of the United States' commitment to the security and stability of the Persian Gulf. Trump has many priorities and quickly loses interest, as is well known. They want him to stay engaged. Last year, the United States and Saudi Arabia were already close to concluding such a significant defense and trade pact. However, the deal stalled at that time due to Saudi Arabia's persistent demands that Israel must commit to the creation of a Palestinian state. But now, Trump will most likely continue to make major deals. Regardless of the normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, regardless of whether Israel will take on the obligation to create a Palestinian state, Moreover, there are already rumors that Trump might even say from his side, yes, if necessary, I will recognize Palestine as a state. Right now, it's more important for me to conclude this pact with Saudi Arabia. And as for Israel, let them resolve their own issues themselves. Plus, there was already information that Trump is very angry with Benjamin Netanyahu, supposedly because he continues the war in the Gaza Strip and is in no hurry to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia, so Israel might simply be excluded from the major agreement. Riyadh is also seeking cooperation with the United States in developing a civilian nuclear program. But this was suspended due to its persistent desire to enrich uranium within the country, which of course has raised concerns in the United States and Israel about the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Uranium enriched to high levels can be used to produce nuclear weapons. Support from the White House for the Saudi nuclear program could bring quite lucrative contracts to American companies. Riyadh appears to portray its ties with the United States as entirely mutually advantageous. In March, Trump said he would go to Saudi Arabia if it invested $1 trillion in the United States. And now it seems they've agreed to do it, so as Trump says, I'm going to go there now. Well, and although Saudi Arabia, of course, hasn't confirmed that figure, in January, she announced plans to expand United States trade and investment to $600 billion over the course of 3, or rather, even 4 years, with the potential for further growth. So she didn't exactly promise $1 trillion, but there will definitely be an increase. But for Riyadh to diversify and, as they say, move away from oil, it still needs to sell oil at a good profit in order to finance this transition. And as you know, the Saudis want to move away from mainly making their money from oil. The recent price drop, partly due to Trump's tariffs, risks undermining these goals. Trump makes it clear that he wants lower oil prices, which puts him at odds with Saudi Arabia's need for high revenues to finance its economic transformation. On the other hand, Saudi Arabia might now agree to Trump's demands to lower prices if Trump offers something in return, such as signing this big pact between Saudi Arabia and the United States. If Trump really promises the Saudis to help develop a civilian nuclear program. As for the United Arab Emirates, there's an interesting point here, maybe more than any other Persian Gulf state. The United Arab Emirates considers investment a central element of its strategy to deepen ties with the United States and ensure profit, and they have the money to support this idea. Among the richest countries in the world per capita, they have promised trillions in American investments, and Abu Dhabi has even called itself the capital of capital. Well, as many Middle East experts are now saying, expanding trade and investment between the United Arab Emirates and the United States is a way to strengthen this strategic partnership. The United States remains the most important guarantor of security for the Persian Gulf region, and also offers a dynamic economy full of opportunities and capabilities that align with the long-term development plans of the Persian Gulf. In March, let me remind you, the United Arab Emirates announced an investment plan of $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years, focused on artificial intelligence, semiconductors, manufacturing, and energy. According to the embassy in Washington, current investments in the United States already amount to $1 trillion. The Emirates see a unique opportunity to become a major player in artificial intelligence and advanced technologies. And this commitment to invest $1.4 trillion aligns with the Emirates' goal of diversifying their economy, moving away from excessive dependence on oil, in order to ensure the future prosperity of their country. The Emirates also aim to gradually reduce their reliance on oil. They say, okay, we will invest money in modern technology. There is a choice between China and the United States of America. In the United States of America, of course. However, it should be understood that it will not be easy for Abu Dhabi to achieve this stated goal of becoming such a world leader in the field of artificial intelligence by the year 2031 without American microchips. In the final days of President Joe Biden's term, the United States has tightened restrictions on exporting artificial intelligence to stop advanced tech from falling into the hands of foreign adversaries like China. These restrictions were supposed to take effect on May 15th, and the Emirates were one of the countries affected by the restrictions. And now they can count on these restrictions being lifted right around the time of Trump's visit. So on May 15th, once again, these restrictions were supposed to take effect, meaning the Emirates would not receive microchips from America. Trump can demonstratively just take and cancel this provision. On Thursday, the United States announced Trump will cancel several Biden-era restrictions. There was no specification, but nevertheless, most likely this restriction will be lifted. As for Qatar, Qatar is an Arab country in the Persian Gulf with the most formalized ties in the field of security with the United States. The largest United States military base in the Middle East is located here, which the State Department describes as indispensable for United States military operations in the region. Last year, I remind you, the United States quietly reached an agreement that extends their military presence at this base in Qatar for another 10 years. The amendments to the United States Defense Cooperation Agreement were made quietly without any noise. Since 1992, which should further strengthen their security partnership in 2022, let me remind you, the Biden administration also included Qatar in the list of major non-NATO allies of the United States. This status is granted to close friends who have strategic working relationships with the American military. Qatar has been a key mediator in a number of conflicts, from the war in Gaza to Afghanistan. And experts say this is part of efforts to maintain relevance in the eyes of Washington. The Gulf state sees mediation in conflicts as a source of influence and prestige overall. And they have managed to use their role as mediators to position themselves as indispensable partners for Donald Trump's political agenda. Trump wants peace all over the world. Qatar, Oman, the Emirates, they know how to conduct these negotiations and take on the role of mediators. In addition, Qatar maintains close ties with the new president of Syria, Ahmed Ashar, who is striving to free his country from years of Western sanctions. And it is expected that Syria will become a key issue that Qatar will raise with Trump during his visit. Qatar is pushing the Trump administration to lift sanctions on Syria in accordance with the Caesar Act. So Qatar is afraid to provide any financial support to Syria without Washington's blessing. If Trump agrees in Qatar to lift sanctions on Syria, Qatar will begin to invest very heavily in this country. Well, according to experts, Trump's visit will ultimately be dedicated to what he can achieve from the three Gulf states. And each of the three countries expects the conclusion of a number of new agreements that will benefit both sides. That is, Trump is going there because he believes it is in the interests of the United States economy, possibly his own personal interests, and the interests of those around him. So that these deals with Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Qatar bring in money. And why am I talking about personal interests? Because it's obvious that many deals will once again be signed with American business in mind, and Trump is, after all, a businessman and can lobby for certain interests. Plus, Qatar has already offered to give Donald Trump a luxurious plane as a gift for use as Air Force One. That's a very beautiful Boeing over there, and Qatar says, "We have it here, we're ready to give it to Donald Trump." There is, however, one little catch, because this is quite an expensive gift. And accordingly, under American law, the president cannot accept this 747-8 because it's considered too expensive. It's simply seen as a bribe. But there is one little nuance. If Congress approves such a gift, then Trump can still be given it. And further, when Trump's presidential term ends, it will become his personal property. It will remain his personal plane after his term ends. So as you can see, Qatar also found such a loophole to approach Trump in order to make him more favorable. Therefore, this visit to the Persian Gulf countries next week will be very significant. I'm sure there will be a lot of big news, so subscribe to my channel. We will of course discuss this news. Click the bell so you get notifications about new episodes, and don't forget to leave a like.